Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Emotional Wellbeing with EAR. Today, I have with me Sangeeta Ghoshal, a Mumbai based software professional who's a mother as well as a spiritual seeker. So, welcome to the show today, Sangeeta. It's really nice to have you here today.
Thank you very much, Pragati. Thank you for inviting me, and it's really a privilege to be part of this series. I have been following up your series and seeing the inspiring journey of all the people who have shared so far. And I feel it's my honor to be here and be part of this program. Thank you very much.
Great, Sangeeta. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Sangeeta, who was growing up, some of the challenges that you faced, and some of the struggles that have shaped you.
Uh, yeah, from I come from a very humble background. I am from a very humble middle class Bengali family and born and brought up in Kolkata. My parents, as we used to have during those days, our priorities were always studies and academics and all of that. My parents also started giving me those values that are normally given as kids. It was a nuclear family, so my parents, and my elder brother, who was 10 years elder to me. And as a child, I remember I was always, the good child, that goody goody image that you have. I never used to create a lot of problem for my parents, and I was that quiet and calm and disciplined and obedient.
Mhm.
Obedience was considered as a big factor. So yeah, I was always that kind of a child. And I was always referred to my cousins or my other brothers and sisters, or maybe even my friends, that look at her, she's the I was always placed as a role model, and I was continuously into that more that I'm the perfect child and things like that. I was always into that kind of thing. And I was good with my studies as well. And since I was good with my studies, I got a lot of encouragement from my teachers. And I was most part of my school life, I was also a topper in my class. So uh, got a lot of encouragement and appreciation from everyone. Um, but yeah, as a child, I think I also had a few things, when I was always compared with others and I was always put in the good side, I sometimes felt that isolation. I was not part of the group.
Mhm.
So I used to create situation for myself where they will also it sounds very silly now if I look back, but yeah, I always used to do that as a child. I remember one small incident when I was probably in second standard or first standard. It was a terminal exam, first term exam in my school. And it was a maths paper, and I finished writing the paper way before time. And I looked around and everyone was struggling. My friend beside me was struggling with the sums and all that. I looked around and I thought, I already finished. Okay, let me do this. So I raised some of my answers and submitted my paper. And my teacher was like, are you sure you already raised some of the answers? Do you want to submit it now? I said, yeah, ma'am, I'm fine with it. And then I went home. I told my mom that, Mom, I will get 49 out of 50.
Mhm.
My mom was like, why not 50 out of 50? You said all the sums were known to you. I said, I mean, I don't feel like getting 50 out of 50. Then there is no difference between the first girl, and me. So I always created that kind of thing that, not always, but sometimes I used to create that kind of thing where, I can be part of the other in my class and with the group.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's one thing that I was uh, I still remember as a child. I was into that mode. Then apart from that, I think my childhood was pretty simple. My schooling was from, again, a very humble, government funded Bengali medium school where we hardly learned English from sixth grade onwards. So, there was no question of learning English or having good exposure and all that. So I started with a very simple background. But then as a child, I remember my mom uh, put a seed of thought in me that when you grow up, you have to become something. You know, that was a thing that created me who I am today, because my mom was a school teacher. She used to teach in a kids' school before her marriage. And as many of the women had it around that time, they used to leave their career after marriage or after having a child. So my mom was forced to leave her job when my brother was around 5, 6 years old.
Mhm.
Okay, so she regretted that decision throughout her life.
Mhm.
So she always used to tell me, don't make that kind of mistake. You have to be something. You have to stand on your feet.
Mhm.
That proverb that we use.
Yeah.
And I, as a 5 years old, I never understood that. I was like, I used to jump on the bed and I used to say, I'm standing on my feet. I have my legs. So, but then that seed of thought remained inside me that, even from the kind of background that I come from, and I still have to become something. I have to stay financially independent at least. I have to try to be good and do something on my own. So that remained. Uh, on the other side, my dad was quite opposite. He never used to say anything that you have to be this, you have to do this way, or something like that. He was not very expressive.
Yeah.
But he taught me by doing things.
Mhm.
For example, by the time I was in my sixth standard, I used to write all the checks for him. I used to fill all the bank papers or all the government work. He used to take me to visit the bank branch managers if he had to go somewhere, all the post office. And these probably don't have any significance these days because nobody goes to a bank branch or anything. But then uh, now, if I look back, I realize that I was being prepared uh, for the future, in by practically doing things. So I didn't have the fear of meeting unknown people
Mhm.
or the fear of going to some new place and doing something on my own. So that kind of shaped my childhood as well. And I didn't used to like it at that time. I used to tell him that no one knows about, no one goes with their parents in fifth standard or sixth standard to the bank branch and meeting a bank manager. I don't even understand what you are talking about. Why I have to go? He was like, yeah, it's okay. I mean, you can just come with me and sit there. You don't have to understand anything.
Mhm.
But yeah, he prepared me for the future. I lost my dad quite early in my age. I lost him around when I was around 22, 23 years old.
Mhm.
And by that time, I was so prepared that I could manage everything around the family. Actually, he was not well. Uh, we had to meet the doctor and prepare for his treatment and everything. And that time, I could do all these things on my own. Even after when he passed away, I had to take care of my family as the only earning member of the family at that time. And, I could handle most of the things on my own. So I think that's how my childhood was.
I think that's so courageous. And the fact that you are talking about it, and especially daughters and fathers, is one topic in India which most people don't talk about. And a lot of times there's a lot of, uh, ambiguity on how fathers treat their daughter, for want of a better word. But like you really rightly showed, sometimes, that quiet support or just that inclusion, ki come, just I include you in day to day job. Sometimes that's all that's required to prepare a young child to take over the responsibilities of the world. And thank you so much for sharing that. And I think that will also inspire a lot of parents to include their children into little decisions in the house. They may be 10-year-old, they may be 12 years old, but whether things are done digitally, but it's important that children understand finances. See, these days, as you have seen, you are also a mother of two young children, and it's very difficult. Most parents say that it's very difficult to make children understand the value of things. But do you feel that sometimes it's the way parents parent the children, because of which children don't understand the value of money or anything else?
Definitely. I think that's a very important thing that I learned from my parents, that you have to value the things, you have to get the things that you want. In our time, things were not so easily available. The technology and all these things were not so easily available. So we had to achieve, we had to wait for the things that we wanted. And when we achieved it, or whatever small things, if you get your wish list things, the happiness that you get, so that I think should come from the parents. And I also teach. I have only one daughter. She's a teenager now, and I always try to teach my child that you can get everything. We can probably do much better than our parents could do for us. So, but then I don't want you to get everything just like that. You should be achieving things, and you should feel that happiness as well. So that is something that I think is very important.
So, like you said, very rightly, that what we pick up in childhood shapes how we are going to parent in the future. So, any other struggles that you have faced, and that you have really overcome with your own emotional ability resources that you want to talk about?
Yeah, sure. So as I mentioned, I lost my dad at a very early stage of my life. I was just, starting my job at that time, a very small amount of salary I was getting. And it, that time, when we lost him suddenly because of his illness, we in a very short period of time, we had to spend all our savings in his treatment. And after that, immediately, my mom and we actually went through a lot of financial struggles. And that was one of the bad phase of my life, when I had to take care of the family with the finances. But at the same time, I was also going through an emotional turmoil, because I was getting involved into a relationship which was not meant to be. I somehow knew that this was not the right relationship for me. But at the age of 22, 23, and when you are already going through another emotional phase of losing your dad, who was probably your big inspiration and big support behind you, in that stage, I was not making the right choices, and I was involved in a very bad relationship, which was not at all good for me at that time. If I look back now, I just feel that I shouldn't have got into such a disaster situation. But yeah, I was so much into depression. uh, in those days, it was not so common to talk about depression. No one in my family was so knowledgeable about this topic, and they never mentioned about depression or anything like that. But now I realize that I was going through a severe phase of depression in those days. And I even, at one stage, I even thought of taking my ending my life. So this was the severe stage. I left my job. I stopped meeting with people used to come to my house. I never used to greet them. I stopped meeting my friends, talking to my friends, and meeting my other sisters or cousins who were very close to me. I stopped everything. And I even stopped reading. I'm an avid reader since the childhood, but I stopped everything that I used to do as a normal person. So that was a phase which I remember I really had to struggle. And I didn't get any professional help at that point of time. I think these days people have a lot of resources. like you are doing work, and there are a lot of other people have good resources. There are apps to help people with this kind of situations. People are openly talking about it, parents taking their children to professionals for the help and all that. But in my time, I didn't have all these resources, and I had to really struggle to come out of it. It took me quite a lot of time. I will say I was somehow saved by the grace of divine or God or whatever. I could manage to come out of it. But yeah, that was one of the worst phase, which probably, I mean, that was not the last bad phase of my life. There were other phases as well. Everyone has to go through some good phases and bad phases. That was one of the phase which I don't want to go back and relive. So definitely that phase was there, and yeah, I could somehow come out of it with the divine grace, I will say.
So, you have shared in your bio that you are a spiritual seeker. So, do you think spirituality is, how does that contribute to your emotional well being? And how does that impact you? Like you shared that there are struggles now also, and it's not like struggles stop. Maybe they are not as momentous as what you felt at that time. So, would you tell us a little bit more about that aspect?
Yeah, definitely. So I have been practicing meditation for almost 12 to 13 years now, and I follow Art of Living. It
Mhm.
has immensely helped me in changing my handling of my emotions, how I used to deal with before and how I now deal with the situation. I think meditation is one of my go-to resources for as my emotional ability resource, how you call it. That's one of my go-to resource whenever I'm upset or I'm very down with overwhelmed with negative emotions. All I need is a 10 to 15 minutes of good meditation. Yeah. So having said that, meditation is something that happens. You cannot force it to happen. So sometimes you'd also need to have other resources, and I have quite a handful of them now because of the spiritual seeking that I have been practicing, because of the spiritual methodologies that I have been practicing over the years. So the other resources that I normally follow quite a lot is accepting the situation and accepting myself, my reaction to the situation. It is okay to feel angry, it is okay to feel upset, it is okay to get overwhelmed by your emotions. Just accept, just feel the sensation, just feel the just observe the feelings that you have inside you. That will immediately calm down, or maybe it will, over the period, it will help you to calm down and handle your emotions much better. So that's something that I follow quite often.
That's
Yeah,
very pertinent, like when you talk about, is there any specific, you of course shared about Art of Living, but what I have seen is, meditation is a very individual activity. Like for some, it's Buddhist chanting, for some, it's just deep breathing, for some, it's some kind of guided meditation or Art of Living as it worked for you. And that's a very nice point that you've made, that, yeah, when meditation doesn't work, always have two, three other resources around, which
yeah.
work for you. So, who has been your role model?
Role model, I think I don't have one particular name as a role model. A lot of people over the course of my journey has influenced me, and as I got influenced by them, I picked up something on the way, something good from each of them, some learnings, if not directly from them, but at least indirectly, the learnings I picked up over the period. As a child, I not as a child, during my growing years, during my teenage, I was an avid follower of Swami Vivekananda.
Mhm.
Okay, so I used to read all his works and all his writings and everything. So he's not my role model, but he remained the pillar of inspiration for me throughout my life. That is something that I think is
Yeah, and that's so beautiful. I also really am inspired by him, and especially when we are in difficult situations or in unfamiliar situations, when I took on research work, when I started doing all this. So there are certain times when you ask yourself, what is it that I'm doing in unfamiliar settings? And then I'm like, yes, he did it. For 3 days, he was there without food, without water, and then he addressed people in a language, and it gives me tremendous strength and courage, and
Yes, yes.
it- the fear of
Yeah,
the
so
unknown goes away. You're like, it's okay. If I'm here, let me just do my job, we'll figure it out.
exactly, exactly. And one more thing is, adapting to the situation. How that is something that also inspired me. How he adapted when he was traveling all
Yes.
across India, length and breadth of India, from Himalayas to Kanyakumari, and how he adapted to the situation. His life itself is a big inspiration to me, and since childhood, I have been inspired by him a lot. So I will not say the role model because I can never be like him, or it's totally like beyond my scope probably. But yeah, I'm very much influenced and inspired by him.
And any books or TV or movies that inspire you or make you feel good, or you feel that they contribute to your emotional well-being, that you want to talk to us about?
Recently, I think Dear Zindagi.
Mhm.
I felt good watching that movie. The positivity in that movie inspired me a lot. Then I also like that movie of Julia Roberts, Eat, Pray, Love.
Mhm.
So that's when she was going through a bad phase. She starts traveling the world, and she goes to a new country, and then changes her perception. Yeah, so that is one of my favorite movie. I think I really like watching it multiple times. I have seen it many times, and I like that movie as well. It's very much inspiring to me.
Now that you mention it, I have had numerous people feel that, and I also feel that, that you're not a tree. If something's not working, if we can find courage within ourselves, we can actually transform our lives. And so few of us feel that we can do it, right?
Yeah, and that smile from within, it transforms your emotion. That thing was there in that movie, and that I really liked that part.
Mhm.
Whatever your situation is, if you can deal with it with a smile, with of course we cannot do it all the time. I'm not that perfect, but yeah, I mean, if you can observe the sensation and try to change it from inside, then your reaction from inside, then definitely that makes much easier to handle the situation.
See, you had shared with us a little earlier that while you were growing up, it was important to be perfect. Sometimes you realize that. So do you think that still is a part of you, or have you transformed from there, or how has it panned out in your life today?
I While I was growing up, as I was referred to most of the time as the perfect child, it remained with me for a long time.
Mhm.
Okay, and I'm still a perfectionist. I still have my I'm very organized, and I still have to have the things in proper place. I have to have the things done in a certain way. I still follow that because that is something that is probably imbibed with me since my childhood. But then again, I learned to let it go
Mhm.
over the period of time. I just sometimes when it is not working, I
Mhm.
just learn to let it go. Okay, it's okay if nothing is working as per my wishes. It sometimes just let it go and be peaceful. Accept the things and just be peaceful. Be happy with it.
Yeah, that's very well said, and that's very wise. Do you have any particular incident that you want to share with us? Because people find it very difficult to let go. So the fact that you've realized that, if you could share, it would really, I think, be very insightful for many, many people watching us today.
Uh, uh, one thing is, as I said, I always want the things to be in perfect order, and things to be done in a perfect way, and So I sometimes create that at my home also. I tell my daughter to be organized and keep her things in proper place, and I also sometimes do that with my husband. So it happens. But earlier I used to get angry, or I used to you know uh, get irritated if they were not doing it. Nowadays it is like I show my irritation just to express my feelings. But at my level, I know if it's not done, it's okay. Just let it go. They will not change. I mean, whatever their personality is, they will remain like that. I cannot change everything around me as per my wish. So just be at peace, let it go. Though I sometimes have to teach my daughter to, put her things in place, and I have to show the irritation. But at my level, I'm not. So that's something that I just let it go.
That's very well said, actually. So, if you had one word to describe Sangeeta, what would it be and why?
Um, I think as I mentioned in my bio, I'm a seeker. I'm a seeker, not only a spiritual seeker. Spiritual seeker is one part of it, but I'm inquisitive about anything. I'm always reading new things, exploring new things. Reading, I can read on any topic in the world, from AI to psychology to Tintin or anything. So I'm always looking for something new and exploring new places. Love to explore new places, travel, and I'm a seeker, and explorer, and inquisitive inside. That's something that I would like to describe me as.
Nice. And any tips on emotional well being that you want to leave our viewers with before we sign off?
Um, Tips. I think the best tips is to accept yourself, who you are. So that is something that is the simplest. You cannot change everyone or everything around yourself, but just accept yourself first. Okay, before accepting others, or before accepting, we always say that accept others, and but first you accept yourself. You have the love for yourself, whoever you are. Sometimes you are good, sometimes you are bad. We all go through bad phases, rough phases in our day-to-day life, but accept your uh, core strengths and core weakness as well as it is, and then be at peace with it. So that's something that I think will really help everyone.
I think that was very, very helpful. And thank you so much for being here today, Sangeeta. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you so much, Pragati. Thank you for inviting me once again. And I wish you good luck, because you are really doing a good work. And I wish you all the success for
Thank you
this.
so much. Likewise.